You are listening to the audio portion of the QB Power Hour webinar series. The QB Power Hour is a free biweekly webinar series for accounting professionals presented by Michelle Long and Dan DeLong, who are very passionate about the industry, QuickBooks, and apps that integrate with QuickBooks. You can find out all the details about the webinar series at qbpowerhour.com. So without further ado, here's Michelle and Dan.
So welcome to Off the Cuff, this panel discussion of the QB Power Hour. We're going to be just sharing our thought and not a presentation today. So Michelle and I are joined by Matt Fulton and Will English. There they are. And Will's joining us from space, it looks like today. How can you breathe up there, Will?
Got oxygen.
Very good, very good. So we are just going to go around and introduce ourselves, and then we'll jump right into the topic and just take it from there. My name is Dan DeLong, owner of Dan with and School of Bookkeeping, and we used to work at Intuit for 18 years. So we're just pleased to have you here. Michelle, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Long, owner of Block for Success, and very glad to be here and just want to give Matt and Will time. Matt, or go ahead.
Hey everybody, Matthew Fulton. I'm with Parkway Business Solutions and QB Community Live, the Facebook group. Honored to be a part of this discussion today. Thank you so much.
And Will?
Yeah. So actually worked for Intuit 93 to 96. Had my own business and I sold that. I got bored with retirement. So Intuit offered opportunities. So I joined them. Here we are.
And thank you both for joining us and your time today in this pretty hot topic of what we're going to be, discussing today. And it's, if you look at the four of us here, we really have some unique, different perspectives of the QB Live offering and the announcement that we're going to be unpacking here today. I started at Intuit and left in 2018. Will seems to have a revolving door. Started at Intuit for a couple of years, went did his own practice, and is now back and is actually one of the team leads for the QB Live assisted service that we're going to be talking today. So we almost have like different or almost opposing, not opposing, but just different tracks of journeys that we have. And then Michelle, you have an interesting tie-in to QB Live. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so my tie-in to Intuit and then as well to the QB Live. So I started as one of the contract trainers for Intuit back in late 2007 on the What's New tour for 2008. So I was a contract trainer for Intuit and had that relationship for Intuit for 16 years or so. But then my son, who is a CPA and had, about 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years of experience before he went to QB Live. But when they were first starting QB Live in Boise, he was one of the first people that they hired as the team of QB Live. So he is a CPA. He did have experience and everything, but he was one of the first team up in Boise when they first started it and kicked it off and everything. So he did work for QB Live as one of the bookkeepers, probably for 3 to 4 years before he quit and got married and started gallivanting all around South America for a number of years. And with QB Live, you have to work in the U.S. You cannot work outside of the U.S. And so that is why he quit. And so I get a little sensitive when everybody's like, oh, all the QB Live, and I imagine Will does too. All the QB Live people are terrible and they don't know what the hell they're doing. And that's one of the things where it's just like with any profession, some accountants and bookkeepers may not know what they are doing, but not all of them. And that might be true for some of the QB Live bookkeepers, but not all of them. It's true in any profession. That's not the situation with all of them. So I get a little sensitive to that, but I do have a little insight from that perspective from Andrew working as a QB Live bookkeeper. He was a CPA working there. So I got some of that perspective as well. So,
and then Matthew, do you have any ties to QB Live or Intuit, or how do you fit in it?
Real quickly, everybody who's watching here in the comments, if you're like me, you probably learned a lot about QuickBooks online and QuickBooks from Michelle. So could you imagine somebody that was related to Michelle knowing QuickBooks, it definitely validates the fact that there are people that know what they're doing there for sure. Because I just can't imagine anybody related to you not understanding this stuff. I do not have any connection to QB Live. Haven't worked for them. Thought about it a long time ago. Hey, health insurance could be a good way to do it that way, but I've never actually worked for them at all. But I have definitely done some work on the back end of some of those files.
And you were part of the Intuit Trader Writer Network, so you do have some connection to Intuit that way. But as far as employment side of things, you never wore an Intuit badge or anything like that.
No, and it gives a great opportunity to bring up one point that there are certain members of our communities that we're very fortunate to have a relationship with Intuit to hear about certain things maybe a little bit sooner than other people. And they do that to give us the opportunity to help calm everybody down, have our insights into it, everything else. The reason we do that, it gives us the opportunity to help be your voice at times as best we possibly can. Never been connected to Intuit on that side, but I'm definitely proud to be able to have those relationships to hopefully help others in the future with other things.
Correct. So let's talk a little bit about what it is that we're gonna talk about. So let me share my screen, and you guys will tell me if I'm sharing the right screen this time or not. All right, this should be the Farm of the Future article. So I did put in the chat there, the replay link, which has the link to this article directly here. So you can always go to that and take a look at what it is that we're actually talking about here today. I've also included some other things like my blog about my impression of what this might be and what this might look like for the accounting community, Hector's video about him unpacking this, as well as Alicia Katz-Pollock blog as well. Various different perspectives from those in the accounting community. What is happening, right? Starting recently, Intuit has created a QuickBooks Live assisted bookkeeping offering. And this is going to be something that is, whether you're connected to an accountant or not in a QuickBooks Online subscription, this is going to be visible. And we wanted to unpack that and list what it is, what it's designed to be, and what it's designed not to be, and how this kind of affects, people who are connected to a client as an accountant, and what this really works out to be. So I'm going to toss this out to Will, since he is a QuickBooks Live team lead. Just talk a little bit about what that is, what your day-to-day is, and just set the stage there. Could you give us an insider view of what is a QB Live? Yeah.
Not a problem, Dan. First of all, I need to say that this is all my personal opinion. No official word coming down on high, nor do I push anything up. This is more of a day of the life. So the idea is with Expert Assist now is that we want to be able to help those people that are underserved. A lot of people, honestly, they're looking to do it themselves. They're looking for a little bit of help. And we're here. So the idea is that we're going to take a call. We have a queue. People basically request the callback through the software. And we try to limit the call to one issue. So the idea is that someone will call in and say, show me how to do X. I want to do this. And occasionally we'll have to unpack what they've done and figure out, because especially with rules and a lot of those things that QuickBooks it gets suggested, it will mess up books. And so we help them unravel that. That's not to say that we're going to help them do the bookkeeping. What ends up happening is we use a tool within the product that allows us to point out on their screen, and we give disclaimers. We're saying these are your books. We're not doing this for you. You're doing it. And so the idea is we try to keep a box and we stay in that box.
Now, I guess, so the general idea is it's $50 a month for this service, and it's all direct paid by the end customer. When I first saw what this was, it reminded me of me. I worked there. It was the lane that I occupied in customer care, that I was a seasoned QuickBooks user and I could offer a little bit more of a consulting approach to, to talking somebody through, well, what is the best way to do X, whatever that happens to be. Is that what you're finding, Will? Is there,
Yeah, honestly,
where this
a
is
lot of our
living?
calls were unraveling reconcile problems, right? Parent-child credit cards, that's a huge one. And so honestly, we're really in there trying to dig in. But you'll get the calls where it's, how do I pay a bill? Or how do I connect my ex with QuickBooks? So it's just really a variety of calls. Every call is different.
Michelle has I saw her.
Okay. Yeah. So a couple of things here. So one of the questions came in, and I don't remember whose it was because it was in the chat, and there's a lot of them in there. But one question was, are the people answering the calls, is that U.S. based? It is, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
That's all
absolutely.
U.S. based, right?
It's not offshore. They're all U.S. based.
Okay.
For the most part, then they all have to have their certification, at least a
Right.
basic application. And for the most part, they are people that are a few years of experience on up to like me, who've been here.
Okay.
And so the idea,
Right.
we really want to, and we monitor calls. There's quite a bit of QA. If that's underlying premise here is that somehow, if it's offshore or somehow that they're not getting the proper expertise.
And they still are going to have the do it. So now that there's this expert live assisted, there's still two different, basically, the do it for me and do it with me. Isn't that correct? Right.
Yeah.
And I remember, Will, and maybe you can still answer this or back this up or whatever. I remember Andrew saying one of the things that was so frustrating for him is the same thing we have always faced in our practices. The clients don't return your calls or answer your questions or get you the information you need or whatever. The client doesn't get back to you. Like you said, reconciling. If you need something or have questions about something, that they still don't respond, just like we face those problems as well. So a lot of times Andrew would say he couldn't finish something, like he'd have 5 clients that he couldn't finish because the clients would never get back with him and answer his questions or whatever, just like we would face those problems. And here would be some of these clients that would be paying for the monthly service and they couldn't finish the work because the clients wouldn't respond or get back to them or whatever. And so if those clients then would leave and the QB Live didn't finish the job or whatever, it may not be the QB Live fault because the client never responded, just like with us. So they would say some of the same problems. But I think aside from the work and who's doing what and all of this stuff, I think personally, the reason so many of us accountants and ProAdvisors are upset about things is it's the emotional aspect of this. Because the reality is that Intuit doing this is not really a big threat to us because a whole lot of other firms are doing this type of stuff as well, whether it's Pilot or Bench or other firms. Some of the big firms are doing this type of thing as well. So additional competition for us, this type of competition for these low-level clients should not really impact us in our firms because these are not the type of clients that we want or need. Because anytime somebody cheaper comes along, we could lose these clients anyway. So from that perspective, I think the biggest problem we all have is that Intuit for years and years told us that they weren't going to advertise and go after our clients. And they are. And I think that on top of, and Will, you can help me with this because years ago, the solution providers, it used to be an ISP and then a QSP and a whatever SP it is, but the solution providers that changed the residual, it used to be the lifetime residuals, and then it went to 12-month residuals and whatever. They changed some of the residuals and they changed how things work there. And then they changed things from us from ProAdvisor perspective. A lot of people felt slighted for recognition for being 25-year ProAdvisors. And just a lot of things have changed, just little things over the past, let's say, since Brad Smith left. Things have changed over the past few years. It's been changing one thing after another to where the relationship between Intuit and us in the accountant community, it's been changing. And I think a bit, and this is my personal, just like you said, Will, this is my disclaimer. This is my personal assumption, and I would love your feedback. Sasan is betting the farm on AI. And I think this is all part of it. From TurboTax Live to the QB Live bookkeeping, it's all about the data and getting more and more QB Live clients so they can feed that into their financial data. Just like you have the LLM, the large language model for Chat GPT and these other AIs, they need the financial model to train for tax preparation and the bookkeeping to train their models. That's why they bought MailChimp. That's why they bought Credit Karma. So Sasan said he's betting the farm on AI. So they need more and more of these clients to get the data to train that financial model for AI. And they need more experts with QB Live. They don't want us as the experts anymore for the ProAdvisors. They used to promote that Find a ProAdvisor website. You don't see that promotion anymore. It used to be in QuickBooks Desktop. The link was there. The promotion was there. They don't really promote that like they used to anymore. That relationship between Intuit and the accountant community, in my opinion, has been deteriorating over a number of years. And this is almost like the nail in the coffin. And that's why people are upset more than anything. Is it's just one more nail in the coffin, in my opinion, that they always said they wouldn't do this and now they're doing. It's more emotional reaction than actually the service and this and that. That to me is not really that big of a deal. These aren't our type of clients that we want. This isn't really a big threat to your practice, or it shouldn't be, in my opinion. I think it's an emotional response. What do you guys think?
Tell me how you really feel, Michelle. I didn't quite get that. Well, yeah. In terms of refer to a ProAdvisor, and again, this is my personal opinion, but they have really damaged what a ProAdvisor is. I can take pretty much anywhere in a weekend and get them certified. So I don't know if they have a fear by referring people back for us to actually. In fact, any third-party software is like, we can't say, hey, this is what you should do. So that there are some guardrails around that. So I think part of that is referring back to a ProAdvisor. Now we're saying, hey, go to this person to fix them. That again, my personal opinion. As for the relationship, absolutely. I was a reseller. By the luck of whatever, I got out at the right time. I sold at the right time. Because the whole program has basically gone away. And what I know over my 30 some odd years is life is about change. And I've seen pivot points. And so this is another pivot point. So we need to figure out how we're going to deal with that, or you guys, because I'm out of the game. And I really think for years, trusted advisor, consultative, CFO, there are a number of things that we do not do that are out of scope for this service. And therefore, that's the opportunity. And the other part of that is you guys, the stuff that you don't want to do, give it to us. Do you really want to man up a support center for 12 hours a day to answer questions about how do I categorize X? And honestly, do you really want to try and unravel reconciliation that and maybe you get paid big bucks to do that? But if you go in and someone says, hey, I need you to fix this, you take a look at it and you go, oh, that's going to be $5,000 or whatever it is. And the customer goes, oh. And then they can sign up. And again, they're doing the work. We're not doing the work for them. And they'll call and we'll go, okay, these are the steps you're going to do. Once you've done those, you call us back. We'll take you through the next step. And the goal here is to get a set of books. Now, back to your AI. Yeah, absolutely. Bet the farm on it. And I don't know that because Intuit they own the data anyways. It's on their servers. I do think that they do track the call generators to try and make the product better. I do think that they also track, we all have metrics for everything that we do. Is that being fed up into some big bad engine? Probably so. At some point, are experts going to go away? Maybe, probably 20, 30 years from now. But I do think that there's also that human touch. Every single call, they get a little video of us. We try and establish that relationship. People are graded on the rapport that they create with the customer. So we're trying to bridge that gap.
I want to make sure that Matt's included in this because we're just. What is your impression initially of this offering as someone who is distinctly not on either side of the fence as far as the Intuit badge is concerned?
So I think it's really important that we reset the conversation to remind people there's two different conversations happening here at the exact same time. There's one, which is the bigger issue of QuickBooks Live, the service itself, where they're actually in the books. That's one part of the conversation. But then the primary conversation about what we're talking about today is what I actually, and other people prefer to call it, is almost the QuickBooks Live coaching. I think would have been a much better name for it personally, because they're, again, touching the books. They are saying, okay, here you're going to click from here to here to do this type of a thing. So it's still the person's responsible for doing all this stuff. And they're not going to sit there on a call. William, tell me if I'm wrong on this. They're not going to sit there for 2 or 3 hours and watch you reconcile your accounts. They're going to show you the concepts of how to do it, maybe how to get started, but I don't think they would sit there through all of it. I agree with a lot of what Michelle said, pretty much every bit of it, right? This is definitely it's a data play with Intuit. I said this before, we have to remember, this is a publicly traded corporation, guys. Their first responsibility is to the shareholders. Do we like it? No. Do I miss the days where I felt super important and appreciated because they made us feel all lovey and warm inside? Of course I do. I wish I got free tickets to the Intuit Dome? Heck yes. It would be great, right? But their responsibility is to the shareholders, and they've got this trajectory that they're moving forward towards. I do believe, and Hector Garcia is one of the people that said it to me very first many years ago, this is all about having a controlled data set to properly train AI within their own sandbox to some extent. And I personally see this as an opportunity to offload some of the entry-level training questions. When I have a client that all of a sudden has a new employee, as I call it, boots on the ground, maybe it's a new office manager. How many times have I gone in to go train that employee for the very first time on how to just create an invoice or how to do this or how to do that? I would rather be able to set them up and explain to my client, look, we're going to do this because for $50 for the whole month, I'm going to give you a series of questions and tasks I want you to have them teach you the basics on. And then once they have that, I'm going to teach you the way we want you to do it for your company. Because one thing they can't do is they're not going to be touching applications, integration. Again, William, please correct me if I'm wrong on it, but when it comes to integration, third-party apps, advanced workflows, those type of details, I don't believe that they're going to be providing that kind of support. Do they, William? Or
No, absolutely. Yeah, would basically third party.
So their lane is what's in QuickBooks.
Yep.
What you can do inside of QBO and teaching them how to do those things within best practices, those types of things, which is good to hear, right? Because those that are outside of that, because as everybody probably is well aware, a lot of the times you can't do everything that you need to do just inside of QBO. And that's where ProAdvisors and outside experts come into play. I wanted to ask Will, I saw a question in here and I think it got answered here, but on average, right? Like, and you mentioned something earlier about who wants to staff a support center, right? Not me, right? I've been on the other side of that. There's a lot of metrics and coach to certain things with the QB Live Assisted. Is that happening at Intuit? Is there a gauge for the average amount of talk time or the amount of time that you're spending after the call and those types of things?
Of course, everything's monitored. Hello. And generally, calls run 30 to 45 minutes. On occasion, you'll get a 2 or 3 hour call, especially if you're trying to unravel something. We don't encourage that because the idea is that it's not our job to clean up their books. It's our job to show them how to do it. So yes, all of the agents are monitored. If there's a long call going on, one of us will jump on it to see if the agent is struggling, or the expert. Sorry, I keep saying it. That's back to my call center days, but expert is struggling. If they're struggling, then we hop on. But the goal is truly, and they're monitored, and I'm not going to get into specific measures because that's proprietary, but
and it's going to change likely too.
Yeah.
And there are metrics for everything. There are metrics for how long an average call should take, how long the after call should take, how long everything.
Yeah.
It changes constantly.
Yeah. So I think for us in the ProAdvisor and the accounts community, I think what we need to look at is a lot of us have had our feelings hurt. Intuit has hurt our feelings from all of the things they've done lately and everything. And so I think one of the things I have thought is, as an accounting professional, we should focus on what do we do moving forward. Okay, this sucks. We don't like things that Intuit has been doing or how they've been doing it or how they've communicated things, whether it's just banning the TWN or how they've done this or that or whatever. But what do we do about it? We just have to, like everybody said, they're a big corporation. They really don't give a crap what we're going to say because they're going to do what they've already decided that they're going to do. The decision's been made. They're moving forward. They're just telling us what's happening. And really, it's done. So I personally would think that sending in communication to your clients, hey, you're going to see this in QuickBooks, this live experts tab. This is what it is. This is what I recommend. Don't click it. Don't do it. This is why. You're going to get different people at Intuit who could respond, and it may or may not be the right answer for you because they don't know your business as intimately as I do. You may get bad information. It may cost you 3 times as much for me to fix it and clean up what they've done. So please resist the temptation. Remember, you get what you pay for. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. They're looking for you. They're here to get the foot in the door, and they're looking for new clients for QB Live bookkeeping. If you have questions, we have these support plans for this much a month or whatever. Or remember, support is already part of our package for your monthly services or whatever. I would send the communication to your clients, telling them about it and alerting them to it and letting them know, here's what you're going to see. Here's what it is. And this is why you shouldn't click on it. And what we have for you or what's included or whatever. If you got quick call, please send us a text or an email or Lithio or however you communicate with your client. But be proactive enough about it and don't wait for your clients to already have clicked on it or done this or that or whatever. But be proactive and talk to your clients about it. However you communicate with your clients, whether you're sending them a video or whatever, but communicate with your clients about it ahead of time.
I'm sorry. This is probably a good time to real quickly interject what people see, depending on how they're connected and who's paying for the subscription itself. And if I don't say this correctly, please correct me. From my understanding, if an accountant is paying for the subscription, then they will see when they go to log into it, they will still see on the side the opportunity for it, but it's going to refer back to your accountant saying, hey, talk to your accountant about this, so forth. If the client is paying for their own books, even if they are connected to an accountant, then they will have the ability to select it and subscribe to it and pay and use that service. Did I say that correctly, I believe?
I got an impression that they will see live experts regardless of who's paying for it to opt in to the QB assisted live. Is that Will, do you know?
I honestly don't know. Based on the article, I think Matthew is correct that basically if it's wholesale billing, then at that point they get referred back. The tab is still there. But I don't know anything beyond the article. I do.
One of the things that I would point out to your client is a live expert might be someone like William who has years of expertise.
I'd be
and
happy to pay
truly-
$50 to talk to William.
Exactly. That is a bargain. He is truly an expert. On the other hand, an expert could be Joe bookkeeper or whoever just graduated, took the bookkeeping training from Intuit Academy, which gives you the 1 year of experience. Because if you take the Intuit training at the bookkeeping academy, Intuit Academy, if you take that and tap that counts as your 1 year of training or 1 year of experience. If you pass that bookkeeping class that they offer at Intuit Academy, you take, that's your 1 year of experience. You can take the QuickBooks certification and pass that. So all of a sudden you've got the credentials to be a live expert, just like taking those self-study courses that's online, open book, open whatever. So all of a sudden I'm an expert without really having any experience other than online training and online testing. And you're worth $50. It's not really staying alive. That expert and Will is not the same, in my opinion.
So we know that Intuit's going to watch this. Hi, Intuit. One thing that I would truly suggest, and hopefully you guys will agree, I think the best way that they could gain more support of us feeling good about this is I would love to see all of those experts advanced certified. And to show like they're a better minimum level of knowledge and expertise. I'd also love to know more, William, I don't know if you're able to speak to this or not, but I'd like to know what is their ongoing continuing training or updated education as things are changing? Are you able to speak to that at all?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. So, Michelle, love you.
I'm sorry.
But this whole bashing, communicating with your customers, say, these guys are crap. I don't know that.
I'm not saying they're crap. I'm just saying they don't know your business the way I do. If I've got clients that I've had for 5 years, they're not going to know your business the way I do.
That's my point. As opposed to make it a positive instead of a negative is my only
Exactly.
thing.
They don't know your business the way I do. You've been my client for 5 years. I know your business much better than somebody else is going to because they don't have the relationship. They haven't been with you for 5 years. That's
Right.
my point. For your existing clients, I would let these clients know, hey, you've been with me this number of years. They're not going to know you the way I do. For your existing clients, I'm saying that. And I don't mean to bash them. I mean, talk about me and you in our relationship and how I am the knowledge about your business, your industry, your goals for your business and things like that. That relationship is already there. I'm not saying bash them at all. You don't have to talk about them. You just have to talk about our relationship and the value that I bring for you to my client. You don't have to say anything about them.
Yeah.
You know what
I
I mean?
misunderstood your earlier comments then. So thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
As to the training, absolutely. We get training all the time. We have daily meetings that we're reviewing things. We're reviewing problems. If there are problems with the software, we hear about it pretty quickly. If there are issues that we have open investigations we can get the people over to support to be able to do that. So there's a lot of functionality that we have that we're able to service the customer. I'll say one is probably not going to make me very popular, but I've seen comments about we brought all these people to Intuit, and Intuit is a huge marketing. Basically, they were started by a Procter & Gamble guy. They are a huge marketing machine. If you didn't bring them, the brand awareness is something that Intuit takes very seriously. I get it. And the other part, and again, not going to be very popular, is while accountants are a very important customer, they're basically not the customer. The customer is the small business. That's who we're wanting to help here. And accountants, we try to, obviously they get tools and whatnot. I remember back when I first started, Peachtree was dominant and accountants hated QuickBooks. But guess what? The customer said, I need you to learn QuickBooks so you can support.
And you know what, Will? There's a lot of small businesses out there that truly can't afford an accountant, and this is great for them. And I love that Intuit is able to help them at a reasonable cost. I don't have any problem with that. The problem is Intuit crossed the line when they started going after our clients. And that's what's really got people panties in a bunch. And it got everybody upset. Is because they always said they're not going to go after our clients, and now they are.
I think to Michelle,
that's the big thing that's different.
To Michelle's point, the fine line I think that's being ridden here is that, okay, if somebody opts into QuickBooks Assisted Live and it becomes out of scope for the QB Assisted, who do they refer to? So is Intuit going to say, you need more than what we have? Are they going to look and see that they are already connected to an accountant and say, hey, talk to your accountant? Or are they going to say, we have a full service live bookkeeping service that you can expand into? That's, I think, part of the emotional issue here is that where does the journey go for the customer when it's something that's outside of the scope of the $50 a month service when it needs to go to that? Because in my blog, I liken this to a gym. You get a gym membership and you have access to all of these fun tools, and maybe you know how to use them and maybe you don't, right? And then you need some help to figure it out. And there's going to be people that work at the gym that you can pay a little extra for, and they'll show you how to use the equipment properly so you don't hurt yourself. No, you're not supposed to use your legs on this arm machine, right? And then there are people that work outside of the gym who are personal trainers that may tell you, go to this gym and use this machine, and they'll set up a routine for you. And then other days, hey, walk on the path outside or ride your bike or do other things outside of the gym. So where does this journey take people to if they start with the QB Assisted Live and they've reached, okay, you need to go to another gym or you need to go to someone else? Will, do you have any insight on that path?
Yeah,
I think that would help with people understanding where this service lies.
So again, we have guardrails. If anyone is interested in full service bookkeeping, we have a ton of questions we ask them to determine if they're in or out of scope from the beginning. There are also a ton of questions that we won't touch. So depreciation, tell me how much I need to depreciate this. It's no, you get the numbers from your accountant and we'll show you how to enter those, but we're not going to help you. Or what's the split between my land and my building? No. And we will refer, we'll say, you need to check with your, I don't know the number of times where I've monitored a call or listened to a recording where basically it's like, you need to talk to your accountant about that. Now, we don't say ProAdvisor, but we do say you need to talk to your accountant about that. We're very clear on what we do and we don't do. Every call is recorded, and AI, they monitor a ton of stuff. So we take that very seriously.
So wouldn't it be great? And why can't you say ProAdvisor? Wouldn't it be great if we could work together and have a ProAdvisor work with the QB Live expert assistant? Because wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to worry about these basic calls and stuff, and we had a partnership where we could partner together and have the support calls going to QB Live expert assistants and let them handle those easy support calls. How do I pay a bill, or how do I do this? And they could say, hey, talk to your ProAdvisor about this. I see you're working with Matt. Talk to him about that. He's your ProAdvisor of record, and he can help you with that aspect. I can help you with how to add a new bill and pay it on the 15th or whatever. But you need to talk to him about this, your ProAdvisor about that. Why are you all not allowed to say, talk to your ProAdvisor? Why not have that partnership? That sounds like a great idea.
It's back to my comment that it's like ProAdvisor, and it's your comment about the QB Live people. I could take anyone and make them a ProAdvisor.
So it's accounting professional, basically, is what.
But I do agree that I do think to a very complex, in my personal opinion, again, no one at Intuit has told me this. No one, I don't even know if they're going to do it. But if we can vet a certain number of ProAdvisors for certain specific industries, back in the day, I did a lot of retail and manufacturer wholesale. And again, that's back to Dan's comment about apps. So if I have someone who's doing manufacturer wholesale, it's no. Let's get them to an expert that can really help them. I do think that there is benefit there. There are opportunities, but bottom line, we're still, again, it's back to ProAdvisors. It's been watered down over the years.
And it's a term they created. I wanted to step
Anybody
back
can be
to
a ProAdvisor for free. You just log into a QBOA and now you're a ProAdvisor. So that doesn't mean that you're any good.
Yeah. And actually, like the advanced certification used to be very difficult.
It still is.
And that's
Still
true.
is.
Yeah.
I had to retake it last year. It was fun.
They did make things significantly easier than they used to be. But Will, to your point, the basic certification test, heck, it used to be you could go through and answer on all of them. You could answer because you had 4 tries and 5 tries to pass it or whatever. Yeah.
Mathematically, you could feasibly pass certifications if you were keeping track of your answers.
Yeah.
So Matt, you were saying.
Yeah, I wanted to step back to a question that I saw in the comments that I think was really important, which was, how can we be making money off of this? And I have a couple different perspectives. I remember when QuickBooks Live first came out, I was grumpy pants about the whole thing too initially. And then I started to recognize whatever the price is for QuickBooks Live, it becomes the price floor for all of our services. So the higher the price that goes up, you should never be charging less for your services as a separate professional onto it. And that's not speaking to whether or not the skills or capabilities of QuickBooks Live, but that's my personal belief onto that part. Another way to be making money off of this, if you've got the ability at $50 for the service, if you wanted to, you could theoretically mark it up, especially if it's on your billing for $75 or whatever. So if it's $50, be fair, people. Honestly, don't take advantage, but you could mark it up a bit and have them set up to do certain training for you. Because again, that's all time that you're not spending that you could be doing higher value stuff for the client. There is a key thing that William was also saying is they're not touching certain things like depreciation. They're very specific about what they can or cannot do. Yeah. If you recognize that part, that means we are still the qualified expert that has the broader range that makes the long-term relationship. This specific offering, let's again focus back onto, this is coaching is what's happening. It's coaching on the product itself.
Yeah.
So
I think the lane that's really being distinguished here is the difference between can and should, right? Can I do this in QuickBooks? And should I do this in QuickBooks? So when it gets to a can, yeah, you can do all this stuff, but you need to talk to your accounting professional in order to get that should, because that's the lane that I occupy when I work there is that, yeah, you can put this all to cost of goods sold if you want to on this day. Books is not going to say, no, you can't do that, but maybe your accountant should say that. And that's where the distinguish is between who's going to answer that question of whether I should do it this way versus whether I can.
Yep, absolutely.
Is that where you drop?
Yeah. That's a very good point. Yeah. Should you track inventory? Should you use a third-party app? What are the different options and what's right for your business?
To Will's point, what should my depreciation cost be? Well, hey, I cannot answer that from this side of the fence. Talk to your accountant to figure out what those numbers are, and I'll show you how you can enter that in. And I think someone mentioned earlier, and where QB Assisted Live or QB Live Assisted, I'm screwing up the branding. Sorry.
At least they didn't call it plus, right?
Yeah, exactly. QB Live Assisted, and now I'm completely
Or advanced.
Yes.
Other topic. I did launch a poll here. So if you're seeing those in, there's no flow to this session. So I'm trying to throw in the poll questions as they make sense. But I think, I remember the idea of, hey, this can be leveraged, right? Like the QB Live Assisted can be leveraged by accountants and as part of the scope of service that, hey, I don't have the bandwidth to really be talking to you about managing the bank feeds or doing the reconcile. If that is you, Mr. Client, is supposed to be doing, or whatever it is that you've already set up, hey, opt into this service and talk to them. And they'll be able to, that frees up your time. And of course, keeps the client's bottom line in perspective as well. Hey, okay, this is a billable hour or whatever for me to set up time to do this thing. And then frees up your time to be able to focus on those advisory types of conversations or report generation and having those larger conversations that rather than, click here and exclude this transaction because it's downloaded twice or whatever the case may be. That certainly is something that is available. But I wanted to ask, and I think where this is expanding from, and somebody mentioned in the chat, isn't QuickBooks support already included with the subscription? Like what is the distinguishing here other than the fact that, okay, I'm getting someone potentially of Will English's caliber of who I'm going to be talking to?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So the support and live are two totally separate offerings. Support should be more, hey, my bank feed is broken, fix it. And we transfer people to support if there are issues and we've run through that and we run through all of our troubleshooting and go, yeah, this is a program issue. As we know, there have been a few lately. So we'll go ahead and transfer those over. So the support that's built in, the free, is technical support as opposed to coaching or bookkeeping. I don't like to use the term. I like what Matthew said. We are there to coach the customer to do their own books. That's it. If they want someone else to do their books, obviously Intuit has an offering, but there are guardrails around that. A bunch of stuff that we don't do full accrual accounting. We don't. There's stuff in there that tells us whether or not they're a good fit for us. And we won't engage if they're not a good fit. It doesn't do anyone any good. So back to the question, technical support versus coaching. Those are the two differences. You pay for coaching, you don't pay for technical support.
So William, I got a question for you that I'm sure everybody here would like to know the answer to. And is there a secret passcode to get to tier 2 coaching instead of being at tier 1? Okay. It was worth a try.
I knew that. I heard it when you call Apple, if you say the F word while it's asking you questions, it immediately gets you to a person, right? It sounds like you're frustrated. Let me get you just
yeah.
Don't try that with Intuit.
Be nice.
I started it live supporting the customers, and now I don't do that. I'm supporting the experts on the phone. I miss it sometimes. During tax time, a few of us jumped on calls and took them, and I miss that. Miss that satisfaction, that aha moment for the customer. But no, there is no way necessarily, nor they cannot request a specific person to call them back. Hey, I love working with you. How do I get you again? Sorry, you go into a queue. And when I was on the phone, I'd just say, hey, I'm not here 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. And if I'm on a call, you wouldn't want to, if you're not available, I'm not available, phone tag. Most people are understanding. Yeah. And again, understand that all of our works are Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, well, I do respect you and all the people that work at QB Live Bookkeeping and all that. I really do. I just think it really wasn't handled well the way Intuit did in this, as far as putting it in there for all of the clients that we already have. I think that's where a lot of us got upset about that aspect of it. But I really do think it meets the needs for some of these small businesses and stuff. But I also think in the next, I don't know, 1 or 2 years, I feel like it's almost there already, but I feel like that the basic bookkeeping and the bank recs are almost already going to be done because of all the AI automation and everything. We've got the bank rules set up and everything, and it's starting to download those bank statements for us and everything. It's almost going to have that whole piece already automated to where we're doing the depreciation and some accrual entries or some other things. But I think a lot of the bookkeeping is going to be automated for us. And so a lot of the basic stuff is going to be done. And so we really need to be thinking, what are we doing for these clients? And we need to be adding value. And so I think it's time for us to be rethinking our relationship with the clients. If you're doing basic bookkeeping and everything, you've got to be thinking, what value are you adding for these clients? And you have to start thinking about that now, because it is a different ballgame than it used to be 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. It's just, everything is changing.
We've had over 200 people with us today, which has been phenomenal. And I just want to draw attention to the fact that those are all people that are committed to their craft. They're here to try to understand what's coming, what's changing. So you're already taking those steps to make sure you stay in front of this technology. Just keep doing it. Keep learning. Honestly, the best part about being a small business owner is the exponential learning curve. There's always something new to learn. And I live off of that. William, I have to say, knowing that there are people such as yourself behind the scenes at QuickBooks Live actually makes me feel a little bit better about it. It really does. Because I know that there are some intelligent people that have good understanding of accounting to help educate others and help train other people up. So
thank you for that. You'd be surprised at the number of people that actually do work here in Live that also have their own practice.
Yep.
So like you said, benefits. A lot of people work here because Intuit offers benefits for select employees.
Yeah,
there's another way to make money.
I remember the benefits at Intuit are phenomenal. I remember going into the eye doctor and they're like, "Oh, you work at Intuit, you can get this like over any other vision plan because you're staring at a screen for 8 hours a day. They want to take care of their employee, and they do actually have other
Notching 401k, but for part-time.
And it's not all about the shareholder. I do want to point out that the customer, the employees, and the shareholder is their three main people groups of people. And sometimes, unfortunately, the pendulum does shift heavy on one as opposed to the other two, but they do try to strike a balance between the three main shareholders in their practice. People actually are financially connected, the employees that work there, because you take care of all of them. That's just a synergy that drives growth exponentially. But sometimes it's more customer focused. Sometimes it's more shareholder focused. And I think we're in that season of shareholder side of things. And our hope is, of course, that it can swing back into that sweet spot where it's actually driving forward. Michelle,
Intuit has consistently been rated one of the top companies to work for. So it is a great company from that perspective for their employees and everything. And it offer benefits at 20 hours. I know that's one of the things I was thrilled for my son because he had health insurance and everything. So it is great for somebody who's starting their practice, somebody who's not quite ready to retire. I know I even talked to Will. I at one point was thinking, hey, maybe I'll do this myself to get health insurance because my husband's retired and I'm thinking, what am I going to do about insurance and stuff? And so it is a great opportunity for people starting their firm, retiring, whatever. So it is a great company and stuff. It's just, a lot of accounting professionals, myself included, we've ridden the coattails of QuickBooks and Intuit for years. And there's bound to be relationship issues over the years where we get upset with one another between Intuit and the accountants. And this is another one of those things where we get our feelings hurt. But the
Phase is
saga
over.
continues. Yeah. Yeah, the saga continues. Things go on. We have to get over the hurt feelings and say, okay, what do we do now? And how do we move forward? And I think communicating with your clients, this is what's happening. This is why your relationship with me is so important, is because of what I know about your company and the value I can add to your business. Focus on what you bring for that company.
Yeah, I visited with Hector Garcia in his Reframe conference up in New York a couple weeks ago. And he was talking about the various things that have affected the accounting community over the years. And this is just another one of those waves, right? That's coming in. And if you do anything about surfing, you got to get on that board. Otherwise that wave is just going to come and tumble you over. But the waves are going to keep coming, whether you want them to or not. Yep. And you just got to ride that wave to the shore.
Yeah. The only thing that stays the same is changes.
Right. Matthew, Will, any closing thoughts from your side?
I just appreciated the opportunity because, again, I know there's a lot of hate and discontent, and I've been through it. I mean, I've seen my business change to the point where, I got out. And so I think that if we focus in on taking care of the customers, educating them, and being consultative, we'll do okay.
I want to say thank you, obviously, for the opportunity to be part of this panel. I would like to make a major call out to everybody who's watching this. Please be nice to the people when you're calling into QuickBooks Live. They deserve it. We are that caliber of people. Have them help you, because if we find out you're not being nice, you're going to get kicked out of the community. So be nice to everybody. Thanks for the chance to share my thoughts here.
All right. We appreciate everybody joining us today. Many thanks to Will and Matt. Always great to see you. Michelle, we will see you in a couple weeks in the next QB Power Hour. Everybody have a great day.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the QB Power Hour podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in our Facebook group. You can find those resources and much more at qbpowerhour.com.